Adaptation Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Okay, you're welcome once again. We will be looking at adaptation for survival in biology, a wonderful topic, and this program is brought to you thanks to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform, an academic learning center on the go. We are everywhere on mobile. You can get to us easily. We are all for you. We exist for you. I remember my humble self. I'm Olajide, aka Smoking Brain, and today, as I said earlier, we're going to be looking at adaptation for survival. The word adaptation, what does it mean? We're going to be looking at the meaning. We're going to be looking at the types and in-depth explanation of the types. What is adaptation? What is adaptation? Adaptation is the ability of living organisms to live successfully in its environment, based on the development of structure, based on its appearance, and based on its behavior. When an organism finds itself in a new habitat and that organism tends to survive based on the structure, appearance, and behavior, we'll say such phenomenon, such characteristics is called what? Adaptation. The ability of living organisms to live successfully in an environment due to the usage of its structure, appearance, and behavior is called adaptation. So adaptation is basically divided into three. We have structural adaptation, we have adaptive coloration, and lastly we have behavioral adaptation. Okay, so now we will be looking at structural adaptation. We've established the fact that adaptation is basically divided into three. We have the structural adaptation, we've got the adaptive coloration, and lastly, we've got the behavioral adaptation. Structural adaptation talks about the structures, the development of new structures, the development or how do I say it, good usage of the old structure to survive in the environment. So we're going to be looking at that. Structural adaptation is a special modification of structures. How structures tend to modify. Take note, they are not developing new organisms. However, pre-existing organisms are modified to perform new functions. And new structures are not developed. Pre-existing structures are modified to perform new functions. New structures are not developed. Pre-existing structures are modified to perform new functions. So we're going to be looking at some basic organisms. We'll be looking at the toad, which is a representative family of the amphibians. We'll be looking at the birds. We're going to be looking at man as well. We'll be looking at the reptiles as well. So basically we're going to be starting from toad. Toad is actually an amphibian. It is a poikothermic organism. Toad possesses olfactory organ. The olfactory organ. This organ is used to perceive odor. It is an organ or smell. Olfactory organ is present in toad and it is used to perceive odor. Toad also have the ability to draw eyes. Drawing of eyes simply talks about the extension of the eyes. They have the ability to cover area, and so the prey cannot just get away from them. And whenever the prey wants to get away, they cover that area and they get to catch the prey. They also have the presence of tongue. Their tongue is attached to the front of their mouth, and this tongue is very, very long and sticky, and so they just use it to catch the prey. And most time it goes to the head of the prey, it catches the prey like this, and that's all. That's the end of it. So now we're going to be looking at that of birds as well. Okay, so we've looked extensively on toad and their structural adaptation, the presence of the olfactory lobe for perceiving of odor. We've looked at the tongue, long, sticky tongue for catching of prey. We've looked at the ability to draw their eyes to get extension of prey and every other thing pertaining to life survival. So now we're going to be looking at birds, a representative family of apes. We're going to be looking at them strictly. Carnivorous birds have beaks for killing. Carnivorous birds are birds that feed on flesh. Carnivorous birds are birds that feed on flesh. They have got beaks for killing. Beaks. And now, one notable fact about birds is this. We have several types of birds, and these birds have different modification of beaks, different arrangement of beaks, different structural adaptation or structural function of beaks. Birds also possess claws. These claws, they use it for catching, for gripping, and killing of their prey. They use it for catching, they use it for gripping, and killing of their prey. Lastly, we're going to be looking at the types of birds in relation to their beaks. The types of birds in relation to their beaks. The first on our list are the grain-eating birds. Grain-eating birds, they are generally called granivores. Grain-eating birds, they are birds that feed on grains. Grains is their specialty. They don't feed on pepperoni and cheese. They don't feed on noodles. They don't feed on amala. They don't feed on ogbono. Their major specialty are grains. Grains, basically raw grains. That's what they feed on, grains. And one of their structural adaptability is that of their beak. They have a short honey beak. They have a short honey beak. And they use this short honey beak for feeding on grains. A very good example is our domestic fowl. Our domestic fowl, kukuruku at home. Our domestic fowl, they feed on our grains, our millets, our maize, our rice. They feed on these grains specifically. Number 2 on the list are filter feeding beds. Filter feeding beds. Filter feeding beds. These beds are basically found in the water area. They are found in the aquatic habitat. They feed on foods that have water absorbed in there. So we call them filter feeding beds. These beds have beak with serrated edges. They have beak with serrated edges. They have beak with serrated edges. A very good example is our duck. Our duck is actually a filter feeding bed. It has got beak with serrated edges. The third on our list are the insect eaters. Insect eaters. These are birds that feed on insects. They feed on insects specifically. They have long, slender, pointed beaks. Long, slender, pointed beak. Long, slender, pointed beak. They have long, slender, pointed beak. And a very good example is our woodpecker. Our woodpecker feeds on insects. The next on our list is a nectar sucking bird. The nectar sucking bird. Don't forget, while we were treating flower, we made mention of the word nectar, and we said nectar is the sugary content contained in the flower. This is what attracts the insect. Aside from the brightly coloration of the petals, the nectar is actually part of what attracts the insect. You know, it's just like you say, food is ready, come and eat, and the insect comes. So when the insect comes, it sees the nectar and it feeds on the nectar. Invariably, it picks up the pollen and transfers it to the stigma of another plant or of the same plant, and pollination is seen, fertilization is seen, reproduction occurs, and life continues. So birds here that feed on nectar specifically, they are called nectar sucking birds. They have long hollow beak with tubular tongue. They have long hollow beak with tubular tongue. Lastly, they have long hollow beak with tubular tongue. A very good example is our hummingbird. Our hummingbird. Human birds, that is what they do. They are nectar sucking. Nectar sucking. I also have the fish eaters. These are birds that feed on fishes. Fish eaters. They are birds that feed on fishes. Fishes rather. They have long pointed beak. They have got long pointed beak. A very good example is the kingfisher. The kingfisher does this. Lastly, we have got the seed eaters. These are birds that feed on seeds. They are birds that feed on seeds. These birds have strong, short and hooked beak. They have strong, short and hooked beaks. A very good example is our parrot. A very good example is our parrot. So now we're going to be looking at other examples as well. So now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of insects. Insects and their structural adaptation. You and I know that insects belong to the group called arthropoda. So insects is actually a subgroup of the arthropoda. And so insects have got classification based on their mouth parts, based on the structure they use in feeding. And so we have the biting and chewing insects based on their mouth parts. We have the piercing and sucking insects based on their mouth parts, and we have the sucking insect itself, and we have the boring insect. The biting and chewing insect have mandibles and maxilla, strong mandible and maxilla. The maxilla is known as the upper jaw, while the mandible is known as the lower jaw. The maxilla. And whenever you want to remember this, just remember maximum, maxilla, upper part, and we have the mandible. Remember minimum, and you will know it's lower. The maxilla and the mandible. So they have strong maxilla and strong mandible, and they use it in biting and chewing. A very good example is your cockroach, our termite, and our grasshopper. Cockroach, termite, and grasshopper, they belong to this group. So secondly, we're going to be looking at the piercing and the sucking insect. Those insects that have the piercing and sucking mouth part, they possess a strong structure called the proboscis. They possess a structure called the proboscis. It is this proboscis they use in piercing and sucking. It is this proboscis they use in piercing and what? And sucking. So a very good example is our aphids, aphids, cotton stainer, and we have mealybugs. Aphids, cotton stainer, those ones that they suck from plants. Mealybugs, they suck from one. You know, we have bed bugs as well. Bed bugs are those ones that are predominant in homes. They are also piercing and sucking insects. And we have the mosquito. A mosquito sucks people's blood, so to speak. So those ones, they affect animals. The third on our list is the sucking mouth part, the sucking insect. Those ones, they have a proboscis that is long and coiled. Example is seen in butterflies and bees. Butterflies and bees, they suck plants. And we also have the housefly. Yeah, we have the housefly as well. Housefly, and those ones, they are filter feeders. They take substances that are in fluids, substances that are very, very soft and succulent that contains water. And lastly, we have the boring mouth part. This is seen in organisms like the weevils and their larva stage. Weevils and their larva stage, they have boring mouth parts. Most of them, they affect the seeds of grains. We have the maize weevil. We have the rice. Different weevils, they affect our plant. Basically, they bore themselves into the endosperm, the cotyledons of plants, and they affect the value of our crops. So now we're going to be looking at the next on our list as well. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of insectivorous plants. Plants that are insectivorous in nature are called insectivorous plants. These are plants that feeds on other plants, basically. The plants that feed on other plants, so we call them insectivorous plants. They feed on organisms. We call them insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants. They feed on organisms to survive. Insectivorous plants, they are not plants that would photosynthesize. No, they feed on other organisms to survive. A very good example is our Utricularia species. Utricularia species. There's something about this Utricularia species. It has got a special structure called the bladder. It has a special structure called the bladder. And this bladder has sensitive hairs on it. Okay, let's take this as the bladder. So the bladder has sensitive hairs on it. This is the mouth of the bladder. It has sensitive hairs on it. So when the organism comes here, insectivorous plants again are plants that feed on other organisms. What are these organisms? They are insects. They feed on insects. So we call them insectivorous plants, plants that feed on insects, insect-loving plants. So now we have a kind of insect here. Let's say this is an insect, this is an insect. And now once those insects tends to wander around and they touch any of these, of the sensitive hairs, instantly the mouth of this bladder will become open. The mouth will become open and water will push all this inside. Then at the end of the day, you have them inside here. So they won't be here again. So the insect will get inside the mouth of the bladder. Are you with me? The bladder of the Utricularia species. And that way it will swallow them. Then instantly it will close up. So just like that, the insect will come again. They will touch the sensitive hairs. The mouth of the bladder belonging to the Utricularia species will get open. Insect will get this side. It will close. Touch. It opens like that. That's where it is. So secondly, we have the Drosera species. The Drosera species is also called the sundew. It's also called the sundew. It has leaves which bear tentacles. It has leaves which bear tentacles. And most times insects, they find themselves at the top of the leaf. And when the leaf notices insect, the leaf coils. It coils the insect. If the insect is trying to find its way out of the present situation, instantly the Drosera will send in tentacles. So the tentacles will pin down the insect, so to speak. Then at that particular point, chemicals will be stimulated, enzymes as well will be stimulated that will now help in the digestion of this insect. And then that way, the end product of the chemical stimulation, the chemical secretion on the substances would now be taken into the mouth of the Drosera species. And that's those sundew. Don't forget. As now we're going to be looking at the protection and defense among organisms. Snakes have got venom. Snakes have got venom which they use to protect themselves against organisms, and they use it to even attack organisms. Snakes have got venom. You know of the black-mouthed mamba, a special snake, the fastest snake, very, very speedy in nature. All it needs to just chase you and spit on your body to paralyze you instantly. And we have bees and wasps. The bees and wasps, they make use of their stings. And when a bee stings you, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be in that kind of situation. And we got birds as well. Birds have wings which they use to fly away from predators. We have the praying mantis. I don't know if you've come across the praying mantis, but it will sure be shown on the screen soon. The praying mantis. It's a special organism. When you see it, it's just as if is praying. So the praying mantis, the leg of the praying mantis is very, very powerful. That is where the protection resides. It possesses sharp spines on the leg. It uses this leg for protection. It uses this leg to attack as well. The scorpion has got stings as well. Scorpion stings people. The toad possesses smelly chemicals. When it releases this chemical, organisms that want to go and feed on it or attack it, when they go away. Even on the surface of the toad possess what we call the mucous gland, so they secrete slimy substances. These slimy substances prevent them from getting dry, prevent their scales, their body from getting dry. They also possess poison, which they use to attack other organisms that want to attack them. Lastly, they have got cryptic coloration. They have colors that would match with the color of the environment. So when organisms are coming to attack them, they will not be able to get that they are safe. The color of the environment similar to the color of the toad. And so they tend to see them as a pathway, a walkway, and not knowing that they are toads. And so now we're going to be looking at adaptation present in species, adaptation that species tend to show when it comes to reproduction. Notably, you should know that of the lizards by now. They display their coloration, probably the color of the hair. They show it to the female. See my head, and that way reproduction will occur. So we're going to look at that briefly. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation for mating. We're going to be starting from the lizard through the toad down to the birds, and lastly the flowering plant. The lizard has got colorations on their head. Notably the male lizard, what it does is this: whenever it's sunny, it comes around and it shows the coloration on the head to the female partner. The female partner gets excited and they all live happily thereafter. That's all, and they tend to Okay, we have the toad as well. The toad possess nuptial parts. They protect nuptial parts on their thumb. Now what they do is this: with the help of this nuptial part, they have to hold the female partner firmly to the ground. They hold the female partner firmly to the ground, then they can now mate. They hold you firmly to the ground, you are not going anywhere. You are not leaving this place, not until we finish. Then when they finish, they can now go. We have that of the birds. The birds, when they want to attract the other partner, the opposite partner, what they do is to display their feather. It's my feather, it's my feather. You know, they display their feather, different coloration, and ladies like, wow, what is this? And that's all. We have that of flowering plant. The flowering plant will display their petals. The petals are brightly colored, so they display their petals. Or in some cases, the sepals might have coloration other than green as well, so they can carry out the function of pollination. And so this is what happens: they display their petals, and insects from afar, when they see, what they do is this: they come closer. Are you with me? So they come closer and they help carry the pollen grain from the plant to another plant. And it also it also pleases me to inform you that all these attributes, all these characters, all these mechanisms are also being carried out by animals. As a matter of fact, you see ladies, they spray perfume, they stay in front of mirror for hours just to appear okay, appear extravagant to the guy that is actually coming to pick them up. So the use of perfume and all that are just like plants showing up their petals for insects to come. So that's all you need to know about mating. So now we're going to be looking at briefly, we're going to be looking at structural adaptation based on temperature, maintenance of body temperature. Based on temperature, we have the homoetamic, and we have poikilothermic. Homoetamic means constant temperature. We've explained it before. Poikilothermic means variable temperature. Poikilothermic is seen in birds and mammals. Birds and mammals. Poikilothermic is seen in Pisces, which happens to be called fishes. They are seen in amphibians, and lastly they are seen in reptiles. So now we're going to be moving straight to the structural adaptation of mammals. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of mammals as regards to maintaining balance, maintaining temperature in the body. We're going to be looking at that of birds as well, and then we'll be saying a little concerning xerophytes. Now, mammals have possessed hairs. These hairs help to enclose a layer of still air. This hair, they have hair follicle, hair on the skin. This hair helps to enclose a layer of still air. Are you with me? Now, on a cold day, the hair stands erect. When the weather is very cold, the hair stands erect, thereby trapping warm air from the surrounding, and keeps the body at constant temperature. Are you with me? It encloses a thick layer of air, on a warm day when the weather is warm and sunny, the air stands at an angle. The air does not stand almost erect. It stands at an angle. It gets somehow bent. Are you with me? Thereby enclosing a thin layer of air. And this also helps to maintain body temperature. Now, fat layer in the skin, fat layer in the adipose tissue, the fat layer in the skin is a poor conductor of heat. So this also helps in controlling heat loss in the body. While the sweat gland, which makes the body sweat, regulates sweat as well, thereby making the body have a constant temperature. And lastly, the skin have a large surface area, and this also helps. For birds have feather on their skin, and this acts as an insulator, thereby reducing heat loss in birds. They have the subcutaneous fat. The subcutaneous fat also conduct minimal heat. So it acts as an insulator as well. And most times you tend to see birds flying here and there. They are also trying to keep their body temperature in check. So regular flight is also needed. And now there is adaptation by organisms to conserve water, notably plants. Plant tends to conserve water. So plants that does not have sufficient amount of water. Plants that have insufficient amount of water are mostly plants that are found in the desert. A desert is a place where there is little or no rainfall. Plants found in the desert are called xerophytes. Animals found in the desert are called xerocos. So we have xerocos and we have xerophyte. But basically we will be dealing with xerophyte. Plants in the desert, they have sucking stomata, they have reduced leaves. Are you with me? They have sucking stomata, they have reduced leaves. Some of them, their leaves are reduced into spines. So all these are needed to conserve water and to make them survive in the desert. So we're basically going to be looking at structural adaptation in plants and in animals as well. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of plants. How do plants survive? What is the modification as regards to their structure? That's what we're going to be looking at. Plants. Now, plants have well-developed root system. And now this gives them a high surface area. They have well-developed root system, and this gives them a high surface area. And so they can also use this in conserving of water for a low transpiration rate. So that's well-developed root system. Well-developed root system, they can use to absorb water from the ground and transfer it to every part of the body, so that the plant is still alive and functioning well. They have chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, they use chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Some plants have swollen stem or leaves. They use this to conserve water, thereby reducing the rate of what? Transpiration. Some plants have thick or waxy cuticle. This can also be seen in desert plants. This can be seen in desert plant as well. They have thick or waxy cuticles. They also use it to prevent the rate of loss of water, which is transpiration. Transpiration is a rate of water loss from the plant. Rate of water loss from the plant. So they possess thick or waxy cuticles, and this reduces the rate of water loss from the plant. They possess thick bark. This reduces the rate of temperature as well as transpiration. They possess sucking stomata. This reduces the rate of transpiration. Some possess small or needle-like leaf. This also reduces the rate of transpiration. Some protoplasms are drought resistant. Protoplasm is the living component of a plant, the living component of an organism, so to speak. Protoplasm and cytoplasm will make up the nucleus and the entire organelle of the plant. Drought-resistant protoplasm. No matter the amount of water that is lost from the plant, a plant that has drought-resistant protoplasm, the plant will still be alive. Nothing will happen to the plant. Lastly, they have surface roots. They use this to absorb moisture directly from the soil, and this aids their survival. So we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of that of animals. Okay, so far we've looked at the structural adaptation of toads. We've looked at that of insectivorous plant. We've looked at numerous organisms, so to speak. We've looked at the structural adaptation as regards mating. We've looked at the structural adaptation as regards protection and defense. So now we're going to be looking at the structural adaptation of animals. Animals possess scales. Example is seen in lizard. They use these scales to what? Conserve water. Animals possess shell. Snails, land plant, Macacatina, they possess what we call shell. This shell, they use it to conserve water as well. Cockroaches and grasshopper possess an exoskeleton known as chitin. Known as chitin. Chitin is a proteinous component of the cortical. It's known as chitin. So chitin is also tough. It is tough, and it is a tough, how do I explain? Okay, it's actually a tough structure, a very tough structure. So it is found in cockroach as well. So it helps them to conserve water, to reduce water loss, while feathers are also found in pigeon to reduce water loss, and hairs are found in cattle, they are found in goats to reduce water loss as well. So now we're going to be looking at the adaptive coloration. We're now done with the structural adaptation. We're going to be looking at the adaptive coloration, where we're going to be looking at camouflage. We're going to be looking at the mimicry and every other thing that you need to know. Okay, so the second segment is the adaptive coloration. Adaptive coloration simply talks about organisms assuming a particular color, organisms making use of a particular color so as to hide themselves away from predators, so as to be able to survive, so as to be able to how do I say it, so as to be able to live long, so as to be able to like spread their tentacles, produce more species that would continue, and so they will be able to avoid extinction at the end. And so they possess color. These colors help to hide them away from predators, from enemies, so to speak. The first on our list is the warning coloration. Warning coloration. A warning coloration simply talks about organisms producing a particular color, showing forth a particular color, and when the predators that are about to attack them sees this color, they go away. The color is actually not friendly to the predator. The colors are a warning sign to the predator. It's like color red, danger, danger, danger. And so when they see an organism coming, a prey, and the prey has a particular color, that color known to them is actually a dangerous color or a dangerous sign, they just leave the organism away and go. But naturally, the color is not dangerous, but it appears to them as a dangerous color. An example is the black and yellow color of grasshopper, and black and yellow bands of wasps and bees, so to speak. And number two, we have the Baptisian mimicry. Baptisian mimicry. The concept of mimicry talks about two different partners or two different organisms. We have the mimic and we have the model. And now most of us, Two-Face is our model. The band is our model, and so we learn from them. We want to like talk like them, we want to sing like them, we want to act like them, we want to dress like them. As no Two-Face in that particular scenario is a model, and while we trying to learn from them, we are the mimic. And so in this particular scenario, a particular organism will learn a style. It will learn how do I call it? This style now is in accordance or in relation with color. It will learn a particular color of another organism, and this color that is actually trying to learn, or this color that this organism have learned, will be a color that is distasteful to other organisms, will be a color that is not palatable, will be a color that is not friendly with other organisms, will be a color that other organisms dislike. And so what they do is this: they will learn that color from the other organisms, and when predators are about to attack them, they show for this color. So this predator assumes that this particular organism I'm going to feed on is not what I think it is. It is another organism that I don't like. And so by so doing, these organisms tend to stay free from enemies, they reproduce, and they do not go into extinction. So Baptisian mimicry talks about an organism resembling a distasteful organism, an organism whose taste is not good. They tend to copy other organisms. Example is the katydid. A katydid is a grasshopper. A katydid is a grasshopper. One thing about it is that when you see it, it resembles a leaf, a living leaf. It stands like a leaf. When a predator comes, he sees a leaf, he's like, I've wasted my time. He goes away, not knowing that it is a grasshopper. It stands like a leaf that is still living, not a plucked leaf, a leaf that is still living. And so when the predator comes and sees it, he sees a leaf instead of a grasshopper. And so that's what we call mimicry, Baptisian mimicry, trying to mimic other organisms. The mimic is the organism that is trying to learn from other organisms. Model is the other organism that we are learning from. So now the next on our list is the mating coloration. There are some organisms whose color outshines every other color in a population. Some organisms, their color outshines every other color. So these organisms are the organisms that ladies are after. In this case, we are not talking about ladies as in human. We're talking about ladies as in plant. So the opposite says the female plant. Let me use the word the female plant. The female plant is always going after something that is shiny, something that is in vogue. Oh, look at that guy. The guy is well dressed up. He's putting on, he has designer those Gabbana. Look at his phone. He's even the CEO of Tinkana. Oh, that guy is mine. You know, stuff like that. So when they see a bright coloration, they're like, I must get this guy. So they go after that particular organism. They mate with that particular organism. They reproduce, and as you know it, as they keep on reproducing, the organism will be everywhere. They will multiply and they will subdue the air. They will have dominion. So aside from mating coloration, we have counter shading. Counter shading. Okay. Sorry, I missed one. Camouflage. And so what is camouflage? Camouflage simply means you're trying to copy. Camouflage simply means you're trying to copy other. You're trying to copy the color of the environment. Maybe for example, now where you're staying, an organism that stays very close to the wall, and the color of the wall is green. And when predators are coming, it tries to copy the color of the wall. It mimics the color of the wall. And so when organisms come, they see only one. Instead of them to see the organism. And so that's what we call camouflage. Example is a grasshopper. A grasshopper usually stays in the midst of grasses. So when predators come and they are trying to feed on the grasshopper, all they see is colored grasses. All they see again is colored grasses without seeing the grasshopper. And so now we're moving to counter shading. Now counter shading simply talks about organism having two different colors at the dorsal and ventral part, at the base and at the top part. They have different colors. So when an organism looks like them like this, they will not see them. When you look at them this way, they will not see them. So they change color. They change color easily. They change color that way. So they won't be able to see it. And most times, if they are in a place that is brown, they take brown color, while the upper part will be green. When they look at the green part, they change it to they change their color in relation to the environment. So they are always that way. A very good example is the tilapia fishes. And lastly, we have the changing of body color. You and I know chameleon. Even without understanding it, we say that guy is behaving like a chameleon. It's changing color anyhow. And so chameleon changes color anyhow. So chameleon changes color in order to survive. They change color in relation to the environment. When they notice that a predator is coming and they're in an environment that is reddish, they change to red. When they notice a predator is coming, environment that is brown, they change. So they have the ability to change color so as to survive. Even grasshopper, they do that as well. In rainy season, they change their color. In dry season, they change their color so as to survive. And so those are the things you need to know under adaptive coloration. So we are going to be looking at the last one, which is behavioral adaptation. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the behavioral adaptation of living organisms. As I said earlier, behavioral adaptation talks about the way living organisms tend to react due to the changes in the environment. Okay, food is not available. How do we react? Okay, so diseases is actually killing people. How do we react? What happens is that food is present in candle. How do we react? Lion is actually set loose and is kind of killing people. What kind of style do we use? So behavioral adaptation talks about how we react towards a particular danger or towards a particular prevailing condition. The weather is harsh. How do we react? So we're going to be looking at all that. And now for predators, there are activities that they tend to carry out in order to survive. One of them is setting of trap. They set trap, and if you're not watchful, you might actually fall into the trap. Another one is lying in ambush. They lie in ambush. They wait for prey to pass, and they actually tend to feed on them. Speedy overtaking. You prey, they are predator, and you are running. They have the ability to overtake. They've done series of practices. Some of their abilities are actually inborn. They are very, very fast, so they tend to feed on them. So now this is looking at it from the perspective of the predator. And now let's look at it from the perspective of the prey. I'm a prey. A predator is actually coming towards me. How do I survive? Even looking at it in a human point of view, most of us, when we see that something is about happening in our vicinity, we stay motionless. We want to calculate what's happening. We just stand like that. I could remember then, one fateful day, thieves actually came around. Then I was in school, so they came around, and I just opened my door. I was about going to the toilet. It's actually a place where lots of people are staying. So the toilet is located at the back. I was about going there to urinate. So immediately I just opened the door and I was about coming outside. I just said, "Hey!" In the middle of the night. Lo and behold, I don't know how it happened. I just found myself inside back. I don't know the way I just covered the distance. I was inside. Then my roommate woke up, instantly went close to the door, put our cupboard there. We were trying to protect ourselves. So those things left. I was about going outside back to urinate, but I couldn't go to the toilet. So I just urinated at the doorpost itself. Those are part of the mechanism of survival. You don't want to do it, but you just do it. You know what I'm trying to say? I said that's part of it. So you can remain motionless. You won't make any sound. You don't no noise. Running away. As I said, I ran inside. I don't even know how I got inside. Hiding, and we could actually do the issue of hiding as well. Now, avoiding weather condition. How do organisms do that? There are two basic ways. We have estivation and we have hibernation. Estivation takes place in the summer. In the summer, when there is heat and drought. why hibernation takes place during the winter. Estivation and hibernation. During the summer, estivation simply means a period of inactivity by organisms. As in, the activities are actually streamlined, they are reduced, or there might even be no activity, so to speak. So they conserve energy, they conserve strength. Why? Because in that period of time, there is food scarcity. During that period of time, competition is adverse. During that period of time, things seems not to be working out for them. And so they have to what? Estivate. It is carried out during the summer. When it is carried out during the winter, we call it hibernation. Are you with me? So the period, the season determines the name we call it. So estivation is carried out during the summer. It is seen, mostly carried out by long fishes. It's carried out by long fishes. Hibernation is a period of inactivity during the winter. Activities are reduced so as to survive. The incoming warm period of time. Hibernation is carried out by bats. These bats they basically feed on insects. So now we're moving down to plants. How do plants behave? Plants behave in response to changes in the environment by shedding of leaves. They shed leaves. Plants that shed their leaves are called deciduous plants. They are called deciduous plants. They shed their leaves during a particular season, and notably autumn. They shed their leaves during autumn. That's when they shed their leaves. That's a particular season. They shed their leaves so that the rate of manufacturing of food, when you have many leaves, you have to feed them. The leaves will produce food and it will come down, but they have to reduce the amount of activities so as to survive. They can't just be producing food and make use of the energy. Dormancy. Dormancy is a period of rest. A seed that is dormant might appear as if the seed is dead, but the seed is not dead. The seed is still viable. But physiological activities are reduced. They are not suspended. When they are suspended, they are dead. They are reduced, greatly reduced, but to it as if they are dead. And that explains why some plants that are majorly before, when we plant them, under 3 days, they started growing. We've seen their leaves. But now when you plant them, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they are not growing at all. That seed is dormant, but the seed is not there. So there are major ways you can break dormancy. You can use cytokinin, just like we did then when we discussed plant hormones. You can go through it again. You will surely get a hint of what to do. We have phototrophic movement. Phototrophic movement simply means the movement of the plant towards light. Photo means light. Trophic means directional movement. The movement of a plant towards light. Why are they moving towards light? So that they can photosynthesize, so that food can be produced, so that they can survive. Animals. The notable one among animals is gregariousness. The word gregariousness simply means working together in colony, working together in groups. A herd of cattle, you get a swarm of bees. They work together. A school of fishes. They work together. They are not just alone. Why are they working together? So as to get protection. When you are coming to attack them, and you notice that this is actually a pack. There are many. You dare not try them. So you want to walk away. So they do that so as to protect themselves. They do that so that they can make use of division of labor. When one do some things, they are much. You do this. You do this, and they would benefit and survive. So now, we are done with behavioral adaptation. A subset of it is what we call communication among organisms. How does organism communicate? One of them is sound and contact. Most of them just make when they make noise, the other organism already understand. Contact, they tend to meet themselves and they know what is happening. Smell. Some organisms secrete substances that have smelly. They have smelly potential. So when they secrete it and the other organisms hears of this smell, they know what is happening. So what that of touch, you touch another organism, guy, is happening. So you touch the other organisms and they know. And lastly, dance. Some organisms, when they are dancing, they are trying to pass information. I love you. Don't you get? They are trying to pass information. So with this, we're done with adaptation. So we're briefly going to be looking at social insects. We're going to be looking at the queens. We're going to be looking at the drones, the soldiers, and we're going to be looking at the fact that there may or there may not be kings. We are going to be looking at that. Okay, welcome back. We are going to be looking at social animals for now. Social animals are animals that exist in colony and they carry out operational activities cooperatively. They carry out the activities cooperatively. There is division of labor. There is a particular group carrying out a particular function, another group carrying out a particular function different from the other groups. So it simply means there are many functions to be carried out, but these functions are now given out to specific groups. So that's what we call social animals. Now, social insect is a very good example of social animals. They live together in colony and they carry out their operational activities cooperatively. The social insect that we're going to be looking at in this particular class will be the termite. It will be the termite and the bees. So we're going to be looking at the termite and the bees. The termite and the bees. And now the termites have got a caste and the bees have a caste as well. So the termites have got caste. The bees also have their own caste. As you all know, termites they feed on roots and other. Bees, they sting, they help us in the production of honey, functionally. That is their economic importance. The termite has got three castes. We have the reproductive, we have the soldiers, and we have the workers. Reproductive, soldiers, and workers. And now when you look at this reproductive, you look at soldiers and you look at workers, I am quite sure you have gotten a little idea of what we're about to talk about. Yeah, workers basically, their work is to build, their work is to provide food, their work is to cultivate. Every work that needs to be done is carried out by the workers. The defense of their territory is carried out by the soldiers. The reproductive is basically divided into three. We have the kings, we have the queen, and we have the winged reproductive. We have the king. The function of the king is to mate. The king is smaller than the queen. The king mates the queen. That is the function, to mate the queen. The queen, the function of the queen is to, as usual, to receive. The queen happens to be the receiver. At the end of the day, the queen lay eggs. And now the winged reproductive are the potential kings and queen. Are you with me? They are ready to take over. When the king dies, they pick from the winged reproductive. You don't get. It's just like the way we do in our normal culture, in our normal cultural way. And when you see somebody is of the king lineage, and so when the father dies, they pick from that family. So this is like the family of the king and queen. You're looking for a queen, you pick from the winged reproductive. You're looking for a queen, you pick from the winged reproductive. So again, the king, the function of the king is to mate. You know, the king is the king, the queen is the queen. Both of them will mate. The queen will lay egg. It will continue. Even the egg that is being laid, it is the worker that will pack the egg and take them to the next site. They would clean everything. The work of the workers is to work till they die. The work of the soldier is to defend till they die. Reproductive, those are the rulers. They are the rulers. The king, you can call it the Oba, the queen, Olori, and the winged reproductive. And so those are things you need to know under the termite. And the termites are, okay, I think we don't need that. Then we'll be looking at the bees. The bees. The bees has got three castes as well. We have the drone, we have the queen, and we have the workers. Now concerning the bee, it is a very, very funny occurrence. It is very, very funny. I need you to pay attention. And so this is what happened. We have the queen. The queen is bigger than every other caste. It's bigger than the workers, bigger than every other caste. That's why she's called the queen. And so invariably the queen is like, the queen is the ruler in that territory. They have no king, but they have a drone. And so what is the drone now? The drone are the male. And now, naturally, they are actually populated with females. Females generally, but they have some specific males. These males are called drones. The major function of these drones, just one major function, is to mate with the queen and they will die. You mate with the queen, you die. Are you with me? So, and you know, when I was actually studying, just like, we don't want anybody to come and claim that child. You know, like, I don't want somebody to come tomorrow and say, I'm the father of the child. Say, I'm the father of the son of the queen. No, nothing like that. So basically, the queen is the one in charge. You mate with the queen will lay egg, you die. You mate, you die. You mate, you die. Are you with me? You mate, you die. You mate, you die. So that's the way it is, basically. And then it continues like that. So the drone will mate and die. The queen, the function of the queen as usual is to lay egg. Now their workers are very, very funny. The work of their workers depends on their age. If you are very, very young, you'll be doing household chores. You'll be washing plates, you know, like that. The way we do that. Now, if you are advanced in age, the work we'll be doing will be different. You might be cultivating land, doing, so their work is in relation with their age. The higher you go, the tougher your work. The younger you are, the smaller your work. I trust you've had enough time concerning this topic. Some questions will pop up on your screen. Try as much as possible to attend them. Should you be having a little issue concerning this question, you can go back and rewatch the video. It's been a nice time with you. Thank you.